Well, you've been asking people to tell them which is their favorite part of the seawall, eh?
Yeah, in many cases.
Well, this is mine.
Good. How come?
Well, I call it, and I'm the only one who does, I think, the Kensington curves, because, it's just beautifully curved as it winds through the trees up to the top. This is where there's a change in grade between being down at the sea and, up above English Bay. There's a grand old apartment building up here called the Kensington, one of the few we have, right, from about World War I. And this is also one of the newest part of the seawalls, and one of the most difficult for us to figure out how to do. People think of the seawall as being around forever. It's so integral to the identity of the city. But it's really very new. In fact, Stanley Park, it really wasn't completed until the late 70s. Cunningham, the stonemason who was in charge of the seawall, originally started around World War I to get it out to Brockton Point. And then year by year, Cunningham just drove that to get it all the way around, and finally by the late 70s. But it really wasn't completed in its current form until, I think, about the early 80s. There's a plaque at Second Beach that the park board had when they finally, kind of got it done. Well, that was fine for Stanley Park. But it wasn't until, I guess about the mid-80s when we finally had it joined up. Just temporary routes, some asphalt and some chain link fences through the old expo site, where you could think about getting from here around to Granville Island. And there are those moments in a city's histories where things just kind of go click, because networks are joined up and neighborhoods connect, and above all, the seawall is extended. That was people walking and cycling and taking dogs and kids and things we hadn't even thought about, like rollerblading, and they were all trying to squeeze in, making it unpleasant for everyone. So we knew by about the late 80s we were going to have to try and widen the seawall in some way. Well, everyone would agree, that seems reasonable. Well, how do you do it? And we knew we wanted separation as well. Well, that meant we were going to have to start paving over green space. You can imagine how well that would go down. It took us 2 years of public consultation before we finally decided how we would just make the link between Stanley Park, where Beach Avenue starts in the West End, around to False Creek. And this is my favorite part, because it's a little bit of gravity. You just catch the kind of gravity wave, and you curve down here, and it just feels so good. And it's safe enough because it's not too steep for kids to do it, for transportation cyclists. Well, you can just watch. And it's almost like there's a little bit of harmony happening with nature. You just feel good about it. And the other thing I like about it is that it's, if you know what you're looking at, you can see the history of the city. So take a look here. There's a grove of trees right here, and another one that we're standing in, and there's this space in between. Well, what do you think that is?
Is this where the old Eglinton Lodge was by any chance?
No, that was around the other side. But you see, you're trying to...
I'm thinking, but I'm on the wrong track, obviously.
You'd have to know that this was where the Crystal Pool was. You can see a picture of it at the Aquatic Centre. That's what existed here. It's just a big cement building with a pool in it, but you can imagine a lot of Vancouverites loved it. Well, that's gone, so that's why we have this empty space. But why do we have these groves of trees? It's hardly a question you'd even think about asking, and frankly, I wouldn't until I had seen the pictures of what all of this used to look like. And can you guess what was here before? Houses. Houses and apartment buildings. It was when the three greenhorns, who got the district lot back in around 1860 something, they put in a subdivision plan. You can relate. And they chopped up everything. They chopped up the beaches, they left no rooms for parks and schools. Well, we have Stanley Park, right? Military reserve. And so some of the first houses went up on the most attractive sites along here. It took the park board most of a century to buy them all up and demolish them. So what we have here are the trees that were planted in the front and backyards of those old houses. Right? So right in the middle you would have seen a big old house. It's probably a fabulous place to live. But any picture of Vancouver before the 70s, you'll still see a few of the houses. And if you go back to the 20s and before, just solid right along here. The only part was just English Bay that you could get down to, wherever all the Vancouverites came to, and Joe Fortes taught them how to swim. So there's layers of history if you know what you're looking at, and what we've added is this little strip of asphalt, right, that connects up and makes everything go click.